That's it. Let's roll, baby. Welcome into the Ringer Sunday pregame live from Studio 70 in New York City. John Jastremski alongside the wise guys. All sorts of action, all sorts of winners as we get set for week 2. Let's go around the horn. Welcome in Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, and Cousin Sal, I don't know what happens first. The Dolphins win a game? Or your Mets win a game. I don't know. The choice is yours.
I am so disturbed by this team. By the way, you could still get the Mets to not make the playoffs at plus odds. That is the lock of all locks. Forget about anything that's said in the next hour and a half. They are not going to win. Much like our best bets. It didn't seem like any of our best bets hit. I don't think anybody wants to take this trophy from me anytime soon. I open the door, JJ. Come get it, you mutts.
We're trying, Sal. We're trying. Now, speaking of actually somebody winning a wager, we did not distinguish ourselves with our 4 wise wagers, and there was only one of us who won a man's best bet. So out of the 8 main bets that we give out here on the Ringer Sunday pregame, Joe House, you hit the only one. It's like the only drive that was down the middle in the scramble.
JJ, we're not here to talk about the past. Let's just talk about the future. I'm glad to get one across the goal line. Vegas Raiders showed us some dynamic, explosive potential getting down the ball field, but I am against the Raiders this week in a big-time way.
Fascinating, and that'll be a Monday night double dip. It's a juicy card. We got a Super Bowl rematch we're going to get to. We got an intriguing Sunday night game with a couple of young quarterbacks. But before we get to all that, Raheem, you're in Las Vegas. It's 8:30 in the morning. Does the stench of Vegas still reek from a Saturday night fight night? And you were in the building. You were in attendance for the Canelo Showdown, huh?
Yeah, it was an absolutely crazy fight. We saw greatness from Terrence Crawford. It's wild because I come to my seat and I see Cuttino Mobley from the Rockets and Hector from Training Day about the fight. I got to break up a fight before the main event. So it was a good night. We gave out Crawford. We gave out the draw just in case, they tried to cheat for Canelo again. And Crawford got it done, became the first boxer to become undisputed in 3 different weight classes. Incredible night.
Raheem, I'm just dying to know if you got a chance to run into Sofia Vergara. That's what I'm dying to know, buddy.
It's so crazy. I don't even know who that is.
Come on, Sal, end the show. That's it. I'm done. Raheem, do yourself a favor.
Leave meeting. Where's that button?
Get on Instagram. All right, we have a lot cooking. We have every game, every pick, every lean. We'll have a guest pick from Ariel Epstein a little bit later on the show. Anthony Dabbundo is going to join us. But, boys, we got to kick off week 2 with Kansas City and Philadelphia. A Super Bowl rematch. A game that was an absolute snooze fest from start to finish last year in New Orleans. Philly was clearly the better team. Smoked Kansas City from start to finish. And now, all of a sudden, Sal, the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-1, returning home. Home underdogs against the Philadelphia Eagles. What's your read on the game of the day?
Bizarre. I feel like it's almost a rat line, as we call it, because I think the Eagles are a better team, but Mahomes never loses 3 in a row. He hasn't, but since our childhood, he hasn't done it. So I have a weird thing. It's my OMG, my oh my God bet right here. Jalen Hurts, 2 score, 8 touchdown anytime. OMG, referring to oh my God. What is going on with our odds providers fans at FanDuel? They are sleeping. How do you make this basically a coin flip? 2 touchdowns last week as a subject of a tushy pushy. 14 regular season touchdowns. Another 5 in the playoffs. He scored in 12 of his last 14 games, and they keep making this around even. I feel like I shouldn't even be sharing this over the national airwaves. This should be our secret, but I'm going Hurts. 2-score touchdown, minus 115. Go bet that Powerball money, $1.8 billion on this. It's a winner.
So, like the sound of that. Okay, Raheem, you have a rule. I've worked with you now for 3+ years. And we talk about Patrick Mahomes when he is either in a position where he's a small favorite or a small underdog. The numbers, the trends, the statistics say you got to go and bet on Kermit. So, Raheem, I'm dying to know for this week 2 matchup. Are you betting the Chiefs?
Yes, I am. And I actually have two wagers for this. So first, we're going to go with my man's best bet. We're going to go with the Chiefs plus 1.5. My model actually makes this Chiefs minus 1.5. So as a dog, you kind of have to take this. And we know Patrick Mahomes, when the spread is between +3 and -3, 15, 8, and 1, 65% against the spread. Now, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They lose their offensive coordinator, and they're bringing Kevin Patullo. And I just don't think the offense has the imagination that we saw last year under Kellen Moore. And then you look at the defense. They lose all of those guys on defense. And if you ask me, the Cowboys kind of got up and down the field. They scored 20 points with 307 total yards. And if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop every pass that goes his way, they get even more, and they probably win that game. So I do think this is probably a good buy low spot on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I also like the total. It's at 47. I'm going to take the under 47.5. When you look at this Chiefs team, they lose Rashee Rice. They lose Xavier Worthy. They weren't a team that's very explosive anyway. They were 27th in explosive play rate last year, and I don't think that's going to I think that's going to continue this year as well. They also struggle in the red zone. So I look at this team, I just see a Chiefs team that just doesn't have a lot of explosiveness. I see two teams in the Eagles and the Chiefs who tend to run the ball a ton, especially when they have a lead. So I'm going to go under, but my man's best bet, an underdog pick, is the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at underdogs last week, 3-14 straight up. So it's very tough finding a dog. So if I'm going to back a dog this week, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes.
Are we doing this again where we're taking our underdogs that are basically favorites?
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels dirty,
Yeah.
Raheem, talking about the Chiefs as an underdog at home.
Dogs were 3-14 last week. What am I supposed to do?
They're
Just
minus
give people
102.
losers?
Minus 102 is your underdog.
I'll let Simmons break the tie on that one because I'm not going to get in the way of Sal and Raheem.
There's no dogs anymore. NFL dogs just do not win for whatever reason. So I got to do something.
All right, fair enough. We'll get to this later. Joe House, you were the only one last year in New Orleans who had the inclination of taking the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you didn't go fully 1,000% all in on the Eagles in that matchup like you should have, like we all should have, for that matter.
Oh, I had the first half. Don't forget, I had the first half.
You did have the first half. Raheem will make sure that you know he was all over that first half with the Philadelphia Eagles and didn't want the Mahomes voodoo in the second half to come to fruition. It didn't. But Joe House, we see these teams again. Are you now going to be a little bit more convicted in taking Philadelphia?
Yeah, I love the Eagles here. I think that we didn't see the full version of the Eagles in that week 1 matchup against Dallas. And the thing about the Chiefs that still seems to be a problem is they cannot defend the pass. And the Eagles threw the ball all over them in the Super Bowl. And then Justin Herbert and the Chargers came in to Brazil and threw the ball all over that secondary. And the separation that the receivers for the Chargers, only one of whom we could name before the game, was incredible. And I think that the playmakers for the Eagles here, I mean, we might be having deja vu all over again. I have later in this show, A.J. Brown for an anytime touchdown. I think Devontae Smith is due for a big game. I think the Eagles are going to throw the football all over that Chiefs secondary. And you guys made the case. Dream just made the case for the under. The problem for the Chiefs is they don't have any explosives. They ran the ball for under 50 yards, and they can't get the ball vertical. I like the Eagles here.
Very, very tough game. Eagles, to me, have the better roster, but I think pride could be wounded here twofold for Kansas City. Losing the Super Bowl the way that they did, losing in week 1 the way that they did. I may be a sucker for this one, but I'm getting plus money with Patrick Mahomes at home after an 0-1 start. House, I think logic is going to side with you. I'm going to roll with the trend here. Hold my nose. I know it's crazy saying hold your nose, take the Chiefs as a dog, but that's exactly what I'm doing here in this spot. Now, fellas, let's move on to Seattle and Pittsburgh. DK Metcalf matching up against his former team for the first time. Aaron Rodgers coming off a game in which he threw for 4 touchdowns against the Jets. But the Steelers defense left a lot to be desired against Justin Fields, and therefore my Steelers -3 went up in flames. Now, for this game, guys, I'm not getting cute here. Steelers are the better team. I know Seattle, Mike McDonald, a lot of experience going up against Mike Tomlin in the past. I don't care. I don't trust Sam Darnold on the road, West Coast to East Coast, against the Steeler team that I think kind of has a new lease on life here. It's not one of my favorite plays of the week. Sal, I see you going the other way here. I'm not getting in front of Seattle any way, shape, or form. Don't see it. Steelers at home. Tomlin's too good at the beginning of these years. It's Steelers a pass for me. You like Seattle, though. Make the case.
Yeah, I hear that. And making my case, you would think I'd be all over Aaron Rodgers, but it's not that at all. I mean, he leads the league in touchdowns, which is weird. It is that defense that you brought up, JJ. That Steelers defense, just terrible. They got torched 32 points, like you said, against the Jets. I kind of need to see something out of them. And Sam Darnold, not an amazing quarterback, and not last week either, but he plays mistake-free football, and that's kind of what got him to 13 wins last week. Didn't throw an interception against a pretty good 49ers defense. I'm going to take the Seahawks and the points, but by the way, if you take anything from this conversation, the Steelers special already hit at 8-1.
Yes.
That's the opponent to win the first half, the Steelers to win the game. Parlay it together. It hit 5 times. It looks like it's going to hit another 5 times. Do that, please.
Now, there were a couple of games that profile as potential rats. Doesn't this game, in a way, reek as a rat line with the Steelers only laying 3 at home?
Well, I don't think it's an only laying 3 kind of situation because of that Seattle defense. I think it's exactly the right price, and that's why I didn't circle it for a potential rat line. The thing, to me, the biggest difference of this game between what we saw from the Jets, who, I mean, Tanner Engstrom, everybody's new offensive coordinator du jour, the guy for the Jets, they schemed up a way to protect Justin Fields and the ability of Fields to scramble. The problem for Seattle is that I think that Pittsburgh pass rush gets home, and Sam Darnold, he's just standing back there, man. It's that offensive line has him in a precarious position. But I really love that Seattle defense. I thought they were excellent against the Niners, so it's a stay away for me.
Raheem, you have a wild idea involving the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, normally when we get wild ideas, it's Cousin Sal, it's the Steel Special, whatever it might be. This might be even crazier. Make the case for what you're about to present.
So we know the Packers right now on FanDuel Sportsbook. They're the odds-on favorite to win the NFC. They had 2 dominant performances back-to-back. But I had a dream the other night. What if?
Oh boy, a dream. Here we go.
Dream had a dream.
Dream.
What if we see Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers go up against his former team in the Super Bowl? And I check FanDuel Sportsbook, and it's 100-1. And I ask myself, hey, look, you put $100 on it, it brings back $10,000. You put $10 on it, you make yourself a nice little pretty profit. So this is my oh my God bet. Steelers versus Packers, 100-1. Nice little lottery ticket. I don't necessarily see it happening, but with Tomlin, they always overperform. And if you get Aaron Rodgers returning to form, he threw 4 touchdowns last week. They get into the postseason, anything can happen. Obviously, Baltimore and the Bills, they probably should be favored to come out of the AFC, but this is one I want to take a shot on.
Sal, that'll be a fun week in Santa Clara if your boy Rodgers ends up back at the Super Bowl.
You know, I was just thinking, JJ, I might have to do this just as an emotional hedge because that 2 weeks leading up and all the Rodgers talk would be vomit-inducing. So let's get it at 100-1 right now.
Okay. Juicy. Very, very juicy. Moving on, boys. We have the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions in a divisional matchup. Detroit looked awful against Green Bay. Now, was that a byproduct of the Packer defense, the Packers being a premier team in the NFC, or is it due to the fact that Detroit is kind of in feel-out mode after losing their offensive coordinator, after losing their defensive coordinator, after a couple of changes on the offensive line? Now, Joe House, I'm starting with you on this game because you and Mr. Simmons had the Chicago Bears. I bet them as well. After that pick 6, I thought that game was money in the bank. Then the Bears completely fell apart. McCarthy got going. Williams is missing throws, and the Bears go quietly into the night. Now it's the Ben Johnson versus old team narrative. To me, this reeks of a bounce-back spot for Detroit. But something about this line has me not feeling so good. What's your read on Bears and Lions?
Well, your read is the correct read, JJ. This line on the look ahead was 4.5, and it climbed all the way up to 6.5 over the course of week 1 performance. And I don't think that there's a basis for this thing moving 2 full points. The JJ McCarthy experience with the Vikings was an enormous wild card for the Bears defense. The Bears defense was very good for 3 quarters, but JJ McCarthy can run, and that ability changed, I think, the entire tenor of the game. He got out and kept the drives alive for the Vikings, and he finally figured out how to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. Ben Johnson comes in to this situation against a quarterback that he is very familiar with, a guy whose career he basically resuscitated. And I think that the vulnerability of that Detroit offensive line that we saw, now the Bears did get pressure on McCarthy. McCarthy was able to run away from it. I don't see Jared Goff running away from it. 6.5 is just too many points. So I'm happy to grab the Bears, even though I don't really trust Caleb Williams.
See, and that's the problem I have with the game. And that's why if I had to make a bet on the game, I would take Detroit laying to 6.5 because I don't trust Caleb Williams. That said, Sal, doesn't this reek of, hey, take the Lions down to pick them? This is going to be the obvious tease. This is going to be the obvious parlay. Just throw the Lions in there. Nothing to worry about. That's what would scare me.
Yeah, I mean, I have him on a million money line parlays, and I'm going to kick myself because I have him to do well in the futures too, but the Bears might be the right side. From our friend Harry, the last 14 games these two teams played, that's 7 years. 12 out of the 14, the Bears either won or kept it within 5 points. So you're in a good spot there, House.
Yeah, Raheem, this was a play. I don't think it was myself. I don't think it was you. I think it was
Ariel.
our teammate. Hey, listen, we're a team. Hopefully it comes home. I hope the Lions win by 3 scores. This is a game, though, Raheem, I'm not going to lie. I'm getting some cold feet on as we look back on the Ringer 107, which we're going to do later in the show. Lions laying this big number. I'm kind of like, eh.
So I tried to argue y'all down for it. But like you said, we're a team. So Ariel put it up. We got to ride with it. I think if I were going to play the Lions, I think the way to play the Lions is the Lions team total over 26.5. I think that is more correlated with how they're going to win a game. And I think you could probably look at some Jahmyr Gibbs props, some David Montgomery props, because if you look at the Bears on Monday night, they could not stop the run in that second half. So that's how I would approach the Lions. I think right now at 6.5, you're getting the worst of it by far. I mean, at 4.5, you got the best of it earlier this week, but at 6.5, I think this is either Bears or pass.
All right, boys, let's move on. We got a battle of 1-0 teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. A rematch of that LSU-Clemson national championship as far as the quarterbacks are concerned. Joe Burrow on one side, Trevor Lawrence on the other side. Cincinnati is laying 3.5. And I just have a feeling this game is going to divide the wise guys. And Joe House, you hate your man's best bet. Are you feeling frisky? Jagging with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence getting his revenge for what happened with Joe Burrow in the LSU Clemson game from a few years ago?
Duval, baby. You know it. Taking a shot here with the Jaguars. And mainly, this is a shot against the Bengals defense that could not get off the football field last week against the Cleveland Browns. I ask who wants to be part of my poll here. JJ, I'll ask you. How many plays did the Cincinnati Bengals offense run in that entire football game? How many plays on offense?
Ooh, not a ton.
Not a ton.
I'm going to say, and I don't remember, obviously I don't know the number off the top of my head. Let's go with 42.
Great job. Great job by you. It was 49. It was
I'm proud of that guess.
Good job by you. Well, you know that they only got 7 yards in the second half of net offense because that made all the rounds. But the thing is, this Bengals defense, they gave up the third most third down conversions. They gave up 2 fourth down conversions, and they don't tackle well. What I like about this matchup in terms of the Jags is they have playmakers. We got Brian Thomas. We got Travis Hunter. We've got the tight end, Brenton Strange, out there forcing a bad tackling team in Cincinnati to make tackles. Now, I acknowledge that the Jags secondary is gettable. I see a shootout kind of potential here, and I like the idea of the Jags at plus 152 getting across the line. You want to get Cincinnati early in the season, and this is exactly the mode right here.
All right, Dream, usually you and House are rather simpatico. You are not simpatico on this particular game.
Yeah, I disagree with this one. And a big part of this is that the look-ahead line was Cincinnati minus 5.5. The Jaguars, they beat a horrible Carolina Panthers team last week, and somehow this line goes to 3.5. So I just think that's an overreaction. I think, we talk about week 2 being overreaction week. I think that's a big overreaction week because you look at this Jaguars team. They were 27th in points allowed last year. They allowed almost 26 points per game. They were 31st in defensive EPA per play and 26th in defensive success rate. So I think this is a great buy low spot on that Bengals offense that only scored 17 points last week. And we know that the Browns have always had the Bengals numbers. So I just don't see any reason to truly downgrade this Bengals team yet. And if you look at the Jaguars offense last week, they had 200 total yards on the ground, 32 carries for 6.3 yards per carry. So I just don't expect, as bad as the Bengals defense has been, I don't expect the Jaguars to rush for 200 yards this week. I think this does have shootout potential. I think the total is about 48-49. So I just think the Bengals can probably, win this game by a touchdown or so. So I'm buying low.
All right, you're buying low. Sal, you break the tie. Jags, Bengals. What's your lean?
Well, I'll give you one name that's going to break the tie. Harold Fannin Jr. This guy torched the Bengals defense so badly that it created a national frenzy on everyone's waiver wire and fantasy. Who the hell is this guy? We got to pick him up. The Bengals defense stinks. House, you mentioned they had 7 yards in the second half. The Jags might actually just be the better team. I know you don't have, Raheem's right. You don't want to just play it off of that Panthers game. But Zach Taylor not out of the woods yet. Usually terrible in the first 3 weeks. He's now only 2-10 in the first 3 weeks in the last 3 years. Let me see something more out of the Bengals before I'm laying points.
Fellas, this total is right under 50. You know what that means? It's a perfect candidate for an SGP game because I think we're going to have a whole lot of points between the Jaguars and the Bengals. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Cincinnati to go and win the game. That back door could be open, but I think Cincinnati finds a way to get off to a fast start here. I think they'll be 2-0 to start the year. I'm taking Jamar Chase to score a touchdown. I think he will be force-fed. I think he'll be actively involved. I think Burrow's going to look for him at home. Let's take Chase to score. Mike Gesicki, my old pal from the Dolphins, Penn State Nittany Lion, 20-plus receiving yards, and then everybody's breakout star in fantasy football, Brian Thomas, at 70-plus receiving yards. Those four, a little over 6-1. That is going to be my SGP. Now, let's hit 2 games on Monday night. I love when we get a Monday night double dip. And not one of these fugazi Monday night double dips where the games are on at the same time and I got to figure out what game's going to... No. We got the classic 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 10 o'clock on the East Coast. We start with the Buccaneers and the Texans. Sal, Tampa Bay, our team, getting points in this spot. Houston, offensive line looked awful. C.J. Stroud didn't look particularly good against the LA Rams. You see the Bucs getting a 2-0?
Yeah, I do. And it's a more important game, I think, for the Texans, but the Falcons, it was a more important game for them last week, I thought. And Tampa just lights it up in the fourth quarter. That's what Baker does. And I think that's why the only bet to make right now, it's a blind bet. And it's Tampa Bay second half or Tampa Bay fourth quarter if you can find it on FanDuel. And I think you can. It's only going to be like a -1 or an even. Go get it now. Tampa, let it roll, JJ.
Sally, you know I love me some Baker Mayfield. You know I am heavily invested on Tampa Bay this season.
Yeah.
That all being said, it's now time for my Week 2 wise wager. The Houston Texans are taking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hate this spot. Hate it for Tampa Bay. They're coming off an emotional division win. They didn't play particularly well in Week 1. And the Houston Texan defense, you talk about a team that can get after it. They can get after Baker Mayfield. You throw in the fact that Wirfs is not going to be able to play. You throw in the fact that Houston should be ticked off after losing that Week 1 game. I think they find a way to do enough offensively. The fact that Tampa's getting 2.5 points should tell you a whole lot. I am going the other way here. Give me the Houston Texans laying 2.5 for my wise wager in Week 2. Raheem, can I get you on board?
Yeah, you can definitely get me on board with this one. Not only are they missing Tristan Wirfs, but they're missing another guy on the offensive line as well. And last week against the Atlanta Falcons, they allowed almost a 40% pressure rate. So if you allow a 40% pressure rate against the Atlanta Falcons, what is Will Anderson and this Houston Texans defense going to do to you? So I just think it's a really bad spot for Tampa Bay. I think this is probably a good buy low spot on the Houston Texans. We know that their offensive line is a little banged up, but I don't look at that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense as something that, is going to slow down this Texans team. So I think this is a great spot for Houston. A lot of times you look at those 0-1 teams going up against 1-0 teams. I think there's about 7 or 8 of them this week. They're typically good buy-on teams for week 2 because they know if you go down 0-2, it's very hard to get into the postseason.
Boys, let's hit the other Monday night game of the week. And this one, rather juicy. After the Chargers took down the Kansas City Chiefs in Brazil, the Vegas Raiders, Joe House, they were very good to you last week in taking down Simmons' New England Patriots, and it was your man's best bet winner. Okay, sir. Chargers, Raiders. You said you have a strong feel on the game. What's the read?
This line was 3.5 on the look ahead, and I'm nearly all the way up to this week, and then it dropped down to 3, and I just had to pounce. I think this Chargers team is legit. In the way that we watched the Green Bay Packers essentially validate their excellent week 1 performance against Detroit, and then they went and beat my poor Commanders. I think that this Chargers team comes back and validates that outstanding win against the Chiefs, against this Raiders team, a Raiders team with a very, very susceptible secondary. And the way that the Chargers beat the pants off the Chiefs was by owning the trenches. Justin Herbert had an hour to throw, and they were absolutely dominant on the defensive line, putting Mahomes in uncomfortable position. The Raiders beat the Patriots because they got explosive plays out of Geno Smith. And I love that out of the Raiders, and I love that for their fortunes over the course of the season. But I think this Chargers team is a different animal altogether. The lowest ranked secondary in the NFL coming into the season belongs to the Raiders. I think Justin Herbert has a day.
It was an impressive showing from the Los Angeles Chargers. And for somebody that bet them to miss the postseason, I didn't feel particularly good after what I saw in week 1. However, Sal, there's always the team that looks way too good in week 1, and everybody has the drastic overreaction to what they see in a particular performance. Are you buying that overreaction maybe with the Chargers?
And let's face it, that what you just described is the Chargers over the past, decade or so. Like, oh my God, they look so great. Well, what happened? They didn't show up. I know the Raiders have trouble stringing together 2 solid performances too, but I'm taking as my man's best bet the Las Vegas Raiders. Going to be another good battle in the desert, hopefully as good as it was last night with Canelo and Bud. I would love to know about Brock Bowers' availability a little more before taking this, but Geno Smith seems to be in sync with this offense already. I know I was praising Herbert last week, and they're coming from a team that comes from neutral to road is 0-2. Not a lot of data on that, but another reason I like Las Vegas, and another reason they're 12-5-1 against the spread on Monday night. I know I'm taking them straight up. We might be talking about Pete Carroll for a Coach of the Year candidate after this game. I am taking them plus 146, the Raiders, man's best bet, which is going to make Raheem's head spin off his shoulders because it has a plus in front of it, and it's an underdog pick. I don't know. I'm sorry, Raheem.
Fight words. Let's get these two in the ring. Raheem, is the ring still open?
I want no part.
Can you go talk to T-Mobile and make sure it's set up for you guys?
Sal's in a different weight class than me, no offense.
I'm Catino Mobley here. I don't want any part.
I don't want to step up and wait. I don't.
Okay, you don't want to step up and wait, but I do want to get your take, Raheem, on this game because I liked Vegas at 3.5, and I didn't bet it yet, and I feel like I missed the best in a number. Am I going to get? Is it possible if they rule out Bowers, I'll get it 3.5 again come Monday?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have much on this game. This game is. I have a lot of question marks just because I don't know what Vegas is. Like, I mean, you could just say that the Patriots just aren't good. So I have question marks about them. And then, we came into this season not being that high on the Chargers, and then they go out there and beat the Chiefs, and now it's just they're laying 3 on the road. So I just don't know what you're getting.
Fair enough. Okay, let's get back to the Sunday slate. New York, New York. Let's start with the team that all of us took except for Joe House in week 1. And I think it's fair to say we all want the breakfast ball after taking the Giants either to win the game outright or to take them plus the points. They lost by 2+ scores to the Commanders. And let's be honest, the game was never that close. The offense picked up right where they left off in 2024, and they were the definition of a hot mess. Sal, the Cowboys own the Giants. Since basically the Giants won that second Super Bowl with Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin, it has been automatic. Yes, a little Pointer Sisters reference for you, for those of you keeping score at home. Automatic. Cowboys cover numbers. Cowboys beat the Giants. Your SGP. Your Cowboys get their first win of the year?
I hate it because everything you said is true. Dak has beat them 13 in a row. It's such not a rivalry anymore that, NFL took it off Thanksgiving, took it off Sunday Night Football. It's going to be buried in the 1 o'clocks here. I think the Cowboys win. I think the Giants cover, but I'm going to go with my SGP, which hit last week. By the way, I had an SGP in the Bills-Ravens game. If you didn't hit an SGP in that Bills-Ravens game, you should quit the business office.
It's time to retire.
You should collect stamps or something. I don't know what it is, but this one's going to be a little more difficult. I'm adjusting this to over 40.5. It's gone over 40 in 4 of the last 5 matchups. Secondary issues for Dallas. Deron Bland is out for a while. Good contract extension. There we go. Malik Neighbors, who had 20 receptions in the last 2 games against Dallas. I like him over 80 yards. I like CD to have a big bounce back game and not bounce off his hands back game. Bounce back 70 plus yards and an anytime touchdown. 4 straight with 70 plus. So that's it. Plus 455 it pays. And, again, I pray that Parsons not suiting up for us. I don't know why he's not doing this. Doesn't screw us again, but let's do that. Same game parlay.
Fascinating. No Cowboy money line getting involved with the total. Is this the week, though, that everybody was on the Giants in week 1? Now it seems like nobody wants to take them in week 2. Is this the week they go and catch Dallas off guard?
Nope. I don't think
You're
so.
out.
I was super impressed by Brian Schottenheimer. He was absolutely prepared for the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1. And I understand why, because he doesn't want to jinx Dallas. But this is a Dallas spot. This is a Dallas roll them up situation. This is the Jackson Dart audition tape, which is just sitting and watching Russell Wilson stand back there and throw dirt balls. This Giants team is dead with Russell Wilson back there. And I think Dallas comes out. I played Dallas as my eliminator pick for the week.
A lot of people did that. I could see that.
Just didn't want to mess with the number in the stupid Vegas zone, but I think that Dallas offense was tremendous against the Eagles, and I saw nothing out of the Giants defense against Washington, which is very much a work in progress team. That Giants defense was very underwhelming in the back half. If that gets any time at all, I love what Cuz is doing here with CD yards, CD touchdown. Go ahead and give some to Pickens too.
This game is interesting to me because this line got all the way up to 6.5. And I don't know if you guys remember, but that was the same line that the Commanders were laying towards the Giants last week. So you kind of have to ask yourself, are the Commanders and Cowboys evenly matched? Well, the market doesn't think so because this line got bet down to Cowboys minus 4.5, where it sits right now. So you kind of have to ask yourself, how good are the Cowboys? Because I think the Cowboys, they exceeded expectations last week. And a lot of times you have people overreacting to that. So I personally don't have anything on this game. But one thing I will say is that the Giants, without Andrew Thomas, they are historically bad. And Dak, historically, he beats up on bad division teams. Like, he's kind of a bully. So if I had to play anything, I probably would lean towards my Cowboys, but there was sharp money and professional money on the Giants at plus 6.5. At this point in time, I do think it's Cowboys are past at the current number.
It's a complete stay away for me because of the uncertainty with Dallas and then all of the historical trends that would back Dallas in this particular spot. Now, guys, AFC East time. You have the Buffalo Bills, who had no business winning in week 1. Yeah, I'm a little salty. The 2 guys on the bottom of your screen are probably even more salty because it was their wise wager of week 1. For me, it was the you-know-what on the cherry on the you-know-what Sunday after an awful week 1 where my team lost by a zillion points, and then my last wager of the day sees a 15-point lead go up in flames. So I'm salty, too. Buffalo's 1-0. The Jets, Cousin Sal, looked pretty damn good against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. They played a very solid offensive game. They knew exactly what they wanted to be as a football team. Their offensive line got after it. They ran the football well. They had a good game plan for Justin Fields. Are the Jets live in this spot in this game against Josh Allen and the Bills.
They picked up their first moral victory. They covered that game, right? Much to your chagrin, JJ, last week. And why? How did the Buffalo Bills get up for this game? Honestly, I think it's a little bit of a stay away. I think the line is a little rich at 6.5. I don't think they're going. You know, the Jets have a little chip on their shoulder. Playing against the Bills, who just beat them up year after year after year. I would say it's a stay away, but if you have to lean, go New York Jets.
Yeah, I think the Jets are the right side in this game, and the line has moved accordingly. It opened up in the 8.5 range. You're not going to sniff 8.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook on Sunday morning. It's now down under a touchdown, and if we know this about Josh Allen, the one place within the division he has struggled, it's been at MetLife Stadium. Now, Buffalo swept the Jets last year, played a close game on Monday Night Football. Buffalo blew their doors off when they played at the end of the year. I think the Jets are going to be able to move the ball. Ed Oliver is not going to play. I think what we saw from the Jet rushing attack is sustainable. I'll take the Jets plus 6.5, and maybe they're live for a little outright win against Buffalo. Raheem, SGP, Bills, Jets. We have a whole lot of rushing props involved in this one.
Yeah, so my SGP is we're going to go with the Bills money line. I do think the Bills are going to win this game. I think there's levels. The Bills are a Super Bowl contender. The Jets are just trying to put it together in their first year with Aaron Glenn. Next, let's go with the over 44.5. Alternate total. You guys know on Monday, I gave out the over 45.5. This got bet all the way up to about 47.5. But let's go 44.5. You look at Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills last year when they faced the Aaron Glenn defense, they put up 48 points on the Detroit Lions last year, and I don't see this Jets defense being that good. So I think Josh Allen and Co is going to be able to score some points. We know last week against the Baltimore Ravens, they got carved up. The Ravens, they put up almost 9 yards per rush. So I think Justin Fields and Breece Hall, they can kind of replicate what Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry did last week. So I do like that over. Next, let's go with Khalil Shakir, over 48.5 receiving yards. Josh Allen, over 34.5 rushing yards. That completes my same game parlay. Pace 5-1.
I like the sound of it. House, can I get you on board, though? Jets, Jets.
Yeah, I believe Bill Simmons and I bet on this in the Ringer 107. We like the Jets getting the 6.5 points. The Tanner Engstrand name, you're just going to keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. And I just didn't have the guts to pull the trigger. I think the Jets are super live to win this game outright because we have yet another defensive player in the secondary for the Bills ruled out today. Taron Johnson's out, Ed Oliver out, and I think the game plan is exactly as you guys described. Let the Jets go ahead and run the ball. It's what they want to do. They'll be able to establish the offensive line control that they want. They had it against the Steelers. I think they'll get it against the Bills. I think the Jets are live here.
I have a question for you guys regarding this game, because I think if the Jets are going to cover this game, they're going to have to score some points. You look right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, their team total is 20.5. How about going over on that?
It's great play. Great play. Totally endorse it.
Aren't you just better off taking the over for the game, though, Raheem?
Well, you guys are playing on the Jets. And to me, I just can't see a scenario where the Jets cover this game and only score 14 points. That's a struggle for me. I think
I get that.
I think if they're going to cover this game, they got to put up 21 points.
Yeah, it could be like 35-19, and then you want the Jets over team total, right? Versus the Jets plus the points there. I could see that. I don't mind that.
Right,
the Jets are going to be the frisky team. They'll win 4 games.
They're going to be a pain in the ass all year.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment. When I say pain in the ass, it's not a negative. It's a positive. This is where I'll say pain in the ass and a negative. My pathetic Miami Dolphins. Without question, the biggest losers in week 1. That was one of the most gutless, embarrassing, shameful performances I've seen in my years of watching football. They made Daniel Jones look like Peyton Manning. They made Coach Lou's defense look like the 85 Bears. And the game was over basically in the first 10 minutes of the game. Now, I need a little help here. Wise guys got advice. How are the Miami Dolphins, after what I saw in week 1, favored against the New England Patriots? You want a rat line? This is the rat of all rats. This is the sewer rats. This is Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Secret of the Ooze. I smell a rat. I smell a rat. I smell a rat. You're going to take the Dolphins after what you saw in week 1? You can. But then again, how are you taking the Patriots plus the points? I want nothing to do with this game. It is disgusting. It reeks to the high heavens. Yeah, Cousin Sal, you want to get involved in this one?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think the answer to your question is recent history, how the Dolphins kind of dominate this team. And also, listen, I know they were terrible. You probably got 75 texts before Red Zone went to their first ad last week, right? The defense was as bad as anything, and they couldn't move the ball. But let's look at some of these numbers. Tua and Mike McDaniel, 4-0 straight up and against the spread against the Patriots, covering the spread by 8 points per game. Overall, Tua himself, 7-0 straight up and against the spread in his career versus the Patriots. That's from Action. And at least the Dolphins know ideally what their offense should look like, right? They'll lose this coaching matchup, but Patriots have trouble moving the ball. They have trouble in the red zone. I think this is your Super Bowl is the other thing, JJ. You can't lose this. I don't know what the Super Bowl halftime show is.
If I'm going to win one game this year, Sal, let it be this one.
That's what I'm saying.
What I mean?
26-19.
That way you can have a little fun with Billy Boy on Guess the Lines, losing to my party team, okay?
I can't wait. Let's do it.
I think you have a little motivation for how this game is going to go. You're rooting for a certain outcome because it will make your podcast later on this evening that much more entertaining.
Well, they can't be too bad because then we're just talking about Kawhi Leonard every podcast from October
you do have the Yankees and the Red Sox too. Maybe
that's true.
Can I get the Yankee Dolphin sweep?
Oh,
that is what I want today.
Okay.
The Simmons parlay of pain. That's what I'm rooting for on this particular Sunday. Raheem.
Get a price on that. Get a price.
We will look it up momentarily. Raheem, you smelling a rat?
Yeah, this is definitely a rat. So this game is interesting to me because it obviously the line opened Miami -2.5. All throughout the week, you got Patriot money. This got bet down to Miami -1. And at that point, it felt like there was value from a number perspective. When I look at my model, I have this right on market. Miami -2.6. But you have to ask yourself, what is Miami now? What are the vibes in that locker room? Is Mike McDaniel going to be the first coach fired? And then what are the Patriots? I have no idea what either one of these two teams are. But one thing I can tell you is that the Patriots haven't won in Miami since 2019. Like, that's pre-pandemic. Like, that's the Stone Ages at this point in time. So I don't know how you can bet on New England at this price, and I just don't know how you can bet on Miami at this price. So this is a complete stay away from me. I'm watching. I think earlier in the week when the line was -1, I think you can get some value on Miami just from a numbers perspective. But right now, I'm chilling. I'm staying far away from this. I wouldn't bet this with your money.
One note, though. Mike Vrabel, now the head coach of the New England Patriots, going up against Tua. One game with the Tennessee Titans. Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores was the head coach. The other one was the Monday night disaster that changed the entire feeling of the 2023 season. Vrabel's won them both, so maybe put that in the memory bank. And House, you wanted a price? I have a price. The Simmons parlay of pain. Dolphins, Yankees. Miami -130. Yankees +128 with Crochet and Will Warren. Yankees going for the sweep. +303 if you're keeping score at home, House. +303.
I can't say anything live about how I prefer to play that thing.
What?
It's my teammate. Not going against my teammate.
Sal, you want in on that parlay? Dolphins,
I do,
Yankees?
but I'm also thinking maybe I go completely the other way just to hedge against all the gloating.
I was going to say, Simmons happy parlay. I could get your price on that too if you want.
I'll look it up. It's all miserable.
It's all business. All right, boys. Let's go to the quarterback that torched my team last week. The former Giant quarterback, Daniel Jones. I think this is one of the more fascinating games of the week with Denver as a road favorite against the Indianapolis Colts. Because, House, we go back to our pods that we did throughout the summer. We all love the Denver Broncos. We bet them to make the playoffs. We bet them over wins. Some people took them to win the division. Everybody loved Denver. Bo Nix did not look particularly good against the Tennessee Titans last week. Let's call it like it is. They are very fortunate that Brian Callahan can't coach and the Tennessee Titan wide receivers can't catch a pass because I had Denver in a knockout and I was sweating bullets in the fourth quarter of that game. Now, Indianapolis may have beaten a dumpster fire of a football team. That said, their offensive line looked good. Their skill position players look good. Their quarterback looked good. Their defense looked well coached. And I kind of find myself in this predicament of saying, well, what's what? Am I going to take all my preseason narratives, throw them out the window after one game? Or am I going to trust the data and the work and the preparation that I put in throughout the summertime? So, House, what say you, Broncos, Colts?
Well, Bill Simmons and I in the Ringer 107 jumped on the Broncos, laying the 2.5. And the thesis is this: it's just a bet on Bo Nix, essentially. Will he have two horrendous games in a row? We're betting that he will not, because the one thing that we feel confident in is that the best unit on the football field is the Denver Broncos defense. And we think that Daniel Jones against that Denver Broncos defense is a matchup that we like quite a bit. Now, I will concede that Bo Nix has not been good on the road. And I will tell you that there is a little trepidation in my heart. I hope that Sean Payton and Bo have been in the lab working out, that they're able to establish the run against this Colts defense, and then let the Denver defense get home against Daniel Jones. Let's see the real true Daniel Jones under pressure, under disruption. That man does not like playing out of structure. The Denver defense needs to produce this win. Laying anything under than the 3 is compelling to me, and that's the way we have bet it.
Jim, you got a parlay for this one?
No, it's not a parlay. It's two different plays. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go with Broncos -2.5. And I also like the under. I think House hit the nail on the head. The Broncos defense is going to have to win this game. And we saw Daniel Jones look like Peyton Manning last week against a dead as fried chicken Miami Dolphins team. And now you got to go up against one of the best defenses in the league. So I think they put a stop to the party quickly. And, you know, when I look at this game, I just see a more conservative style of play from the Broncos this week. I really do. This guy threw 4 interceptions last week, and they know that they have a top-tier defense. So he doesn't have to go out there and completely win this game. But one thing I will add is that Lou Anarumo was the defensive coordinator of Cincinnati Bengals, and you saw what Bo Nix did to that team last year. So I think that kind of carries over this year, and the Broncos are able to, you know, just pull off a win. You only need to win by 3. Obviously, you got it under a key number. And I just think this is a low-scoring game. I think under 43, I think you're getting some value. My model actually makes this like 21, 20 or so like that. So I would rather go under here.
Okay. I'd go the other way. Mm-hmm. And I may have egg on my face for this. This may end up being the worst pick that I make, Sal, all season. It was a candidate for man's best bet. I chickened out for man's best bet. I saw a lot of good things from Indianapolis's defense. And I know you were referencing Raheem, a Cincinnati team that had no personnel other than Trey Hendrickson and got torched by Bo Nix. Sal, I'm worried about Bo Nix. I was unimpressed. I thought he played poorly last week. I think Anarumo's defense gets after him. I think this is a field goal game. And remember, Indianapolis last year against Denver was smoking them until Jonathan Taylor fumbled the ball at the goal line. That was a 2-score game. That was going to be money in the bank. The Colts were going to make the playoffs, even with crummy Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Little bit of a revenge spot here for the Colts. Am I crazy to like Indy?
No, you're not crazy. Look, I took the coward's way out as I look at my horrible ledger of bets. I only have Denver +9 on a couple 3-team teasers, and that's because I don't think Daniel Jones will do it again. As House pointed out, the best unit on the field is the Denver defense. Bo Nix did look like the rookie quarterback last week. Aside from Cam Ward, he was the rookie. He did throw a couple good balls. The touchdown to Cortland Sutton was good, but I'd be surprised if Denver got smoked here. I like him on a teaser.
Okay. In case you're wondering, the Simmons parlay of praise. Patriots, Red Sox, +248. Sal, you in?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I got to do that.
You want to have, and we got a text from the Podfather.
Yeah, he's downplaying it now. So,
and this is, see, I have a problem with this, Sal, because 2021, the Yankees swept the Red Sox. They played in the wild card game. I think Garrett Cole gave up 10 zillion home runs. I'm still crying from watching that game in person at Fenway Park, one of the worst games I've ever attended in my life. It would be a top 5, but, you know, Game 5 of the World Series probably takes the cake there. Bloody Sock probably takes the cake there. Yeah. You can't give up on the Red Sox when they own the Yankees in the playoffs, Sal. I'm not going to allow it.
Yeah, I just wish it meant more. I know how they try to stack these games towards the end of the year. The Sox are -500 to make the playoffs, and they're not winning the division, so it's not as meaningful as we want to lend the credence. So right there, I don't know. I think that's why he's giving up.
Fair enough. All right, we have a lot more games to get to. Stay with us here if you're watching on the YouTube feed, of course. Sal, a certain someone joined the show on Friday. one of the most talented NFL personalities we have, one of the big stars now over at ESPN.
Yeah.
Look at you booking the Friday show, getting guests up the wazoo.
I know she showed mercy on me. She came on my program. I tried to talk shit and get her to turn on her head coach at Seattle, Mike McDonald, and here's how it went.
As a Seahawks fan and a great mathematical mind, correctly utilizes data and statistics. Were you pissed off when McDonald go on 3rd and 1 with 3:42 left and everybody has their timeouts, 4th and 1, decides to kick the field goal?
Yeah, I thought he should have gone for it. It was surprising too because he was pretty good at game management last year. I think sometimes when these defensive coaches have a defense that's really good, they start to get a little bit conservative because of that. Something I've seen,
Right.
and the Seahawks defense is really good, and I think from week one, that was kind of one of my takeaways. I think they're going to be good all year. But, it's interesting. Him and he comes from Baltimore, and Harbaugh also punted. We punted, not field goal, but conservatism there too. And yeah, I mean, compare that to Green Bay, which, kind of went for the jugular on 4th down in their win. To me, that looked like a very well-coached, aggressive team.
All right, so now this week you have the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, who looked good last week, but you understand a loss to Aaron Rodgers is like 2 losses. How are you feeling going into this weekend?
I think this should be good. I think that the aforementioned excellent Seahawks defense is going to give him a lot more difficulty than the Jets did. He did look good, but it was basically just quick game all game long. It was very, he had like a 4-yard average depth of target. He got a couple of shots off of boots, but I think the Seahawks are the Seahawks are better equipped to stop that, to tackle, to create confusion up front. I was thinking back to when the Seahawks played the Jets last year, and they got Aaron Rodgers with the simulated pressure and pick-sixed him. It was Leonard Williams, dropped into coverage. Rodgers didn't see it. Ball came out fast, pick-6. I think that they're going to make this a bit of a rock fight, so it should be a good game.
Okay, I think you're saying under, if I'm reading between the lines here.
Unfortunately for me, I think there's going to be more pain and more suffering for the Seahawks as I see them as an 0-2 team taking on the Steelers this week. Now, gentlemen, Sunday Night Football, juicy game. Atlanta is a 3.5-point underdog against the Minnesota Vikings, who were dreadful for 2.5 quarters, came to life in the 4th quarter. Now everybody's got the J.J. McCarthy hype, Kevin O'Connell, the great coach, Brian Flores, the great defensive coordinator. Yet, if you look at the line in this game, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it opened Minnesota laying 5.5. It is now down to Minnesota laying 3.5. I am giving you my man's best bet. I have the title. I am the champion. I need to take it back from Joe House after his week 1 game. I am taking the Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix. Big time Sunday night performance. I'm still questioning what you're going to get from J.J. McCarthy over the course of this year. Let's not get nuts after the 4th quarter. Atlanta, I'm all over it. Give me him outright. Raheem, your thoughts?
So I have a number of thoughts. I don't necessarily agree with Atlanta, but I do like the fact that you teased it. So me personally, I like the under in this game. My model makes this 42. You look at that Vikings-Bears game, it was a 17-6 total entering the 4th quarter, and everybody got burnt because of just high scoring output in that 4th quarter. So I just really like the under. I mean, you're talking about teams that were 19th and 20th in red zone touchdown percentage in 2024. And then the Vikings and Falcons are 5th and 6th in defensive success rate. So I like the under on this matchup. It's 44.5. I would go under there. But I know there's a lot of people betting on Atlanta at plus 4.5, plus 3.5. I'm going to go against that. My model really likes the Vikings, and we know the Vikings probably have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. I mean, outside of the Packers, outside of Denver, I think their home field advantage is very, very strong. A lot of people are talking about J.J. McCarthy, but Michael Penix, he's only started 5 games throughout his career. I mean, you go back and you watch that Falcons game against the Buccaneers, you could say they were unlucky, but there was a play sequence in the fourth quarter where they needed like 10 downs just to get 2 yards into the end zone. And I just think they're playing a better Vikings defense. I think J.J. McCarthy, they're going to play a little bit conservative. They're going to be able to run the ball. But I think he kind of, got better as the game went along. And I think he should play a little bit better at home. So I'm going to buy low on the Vikings. I mean, this look ahead line, you're talking about 4.5, 5.5. Now it's down to 3.5. I'm going to go against all that sharp money in the market, and I'm going to play the Vikings.
All right, we're going heads up there. Big loss for the Vikings, too. Andrew Van Ginkel, one of my favorite former Dolphins, not going to play. Big loss on that front for Minnesota. House, I like the SGP idea. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I am. This is a nearly 8-1 plus 790. Falcons plus 10.5. Can the Falcons keep it within 2 scores? Basically, I think the answer is yes. That's why I put that alt spread in there. And then very modest totals for Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy. Justin Jefferson over 72.5 receiving yards. It took JJ a while to find Justin Jefferson last week, but once he found him, I think we might get there with only 3 completions or so. Honestly, against this Atlanta secondary. JJ McCarthy over 17.5 rushing yards. That's the wild card for this Vikings team. Enormous variance on offense, all depending on JJ McCarthy. But the one thing he did very well last week was run, and we saw Baker Mayfield run out of the backfield against this Atlanta defense. Baker almost had 40 yards rushing. So McCarthy over 17.5. And then Drake London under 5.5 receptions. And the reason this is a leg for me is because I think that the Falcons need to get the ball out of Michael Penix's hands quickly to diffuse that Vikings pass rush, to diffuse that blitz. And that is a ton of Bijan touches. That's a lot of at the line of scrimmage receptions. And I don't think Drake London gets to 6 catches by way of that vehicle.
All right, House, best of luck. I love a juicy SGP. Okay, boys, it's Baltimore and Cleveland. Ravens still licking their wounds from what happened in week 1. The Browns should have won outright against the Cincinnati Bengals. Crazy. This is going to be Joe Flacco's first game at M&T since leaving Baltimore. Guy left Baltimore a decade ago, for goodness sakes. It's amazing, all the stops, all the games he's played. He's never been the road quarterback going up against his former team where he won Super Bowl MVP. Sal, you're smelling a blowout, huh?
Yeah, he's going to wish he stayed away longer because this is a sweet spot for Baltimore. Incredible choke job on Sunday night. We all saw it. It affected most of this panel. Let's face it, the sports guy jinxed us with his congratulatory text.
No, it was Dabbundo, but that's okay. He apologized, so
okay.
we don't hold it against him anymore. It was Dabbundo.
I think Lamar bounces back in a big way here. I'm taking Baltimore by 23.5. You get the ad-adjusted number at plus 390. This is not as ridiculous as it seems. They've covered this spread 2 of the last 4 games against Cleveland. They've won by 25 exactly twice. And they're not taking the Browns and Joe Flacco lightly. They saw what he did last week, played tough against Cincinnati. But the Browns always brown. They lost 8 times last year by more than 2 touchdowns. And I see a thrashing in their immediate future. Big Derrick Henry day. Let's go 36-9. Give me minus 23.5 at almost 4-1 odds.
All right, Raheem, what's your feel on the total?
I like the over 45.5. I think this is correlated with what Sal said. If you look at this Ravens team, in the last 10 games against the Browns, they scored over 36 times. I mean, you're talking the last 10 games, almost 26 points per game. So if the Ravens are going to get, 27, 28, 30 points or so, I think that leaves only 14, 15 points for, the Browns to take this over. So I like the over.
Ravens going to be a very, very popular knockout pick. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. San Fran and New Orleans. Low number. Why? Brock Purdy out. Mac Jones. Remember him? He will be starting for the San Francisco 49ers. Sal, I can't believe you were doing this.
Yeah.
But you're doing it. Wives wager between these 2 teams. What are we thinking?
I'm thinking I'm not even looking at who's playing New Orleans and laying 3 points. I think they're that bad. They could be a 2-3 win team. This is a deal or bust game, JJ. This is, you know what? You don't have to care what your hand is. You could have 15. The dealer's holding a 6, showing a 6, and that 6 is Spencer Rattler. 0-7 straight up, 1-6 against the spread. not great at all. And all right, Mac Jones, we've seen some stinkers out of him, but let me give you some Mac Jones numbers. 6-3-1 against the spread as a favorite in games that he starts. I think San Francisco, as long as they have their core, and by the way, I know they lost Purdy, I know they lost tight end Kittle, but they still have some players there and they're going to score points. Give me these 49ers to go into NOLA and win 24-16.
You're getting a low price on San Francisco, but there's the uncertainty at quarterback. House, you're going the other way here.
Well, I didn't have the guts to do anything actionable, but I don't think the Saints are dead. I mean, I thought that Saints team against the Cardinals last week was super live, all the way to the point where they had a receiver in the end zone with two hands on the football with a chance to tie the game. Now, he couldn't hold on to the ball in those last 12 seconds, but they still have their explosives on offense, and they're home. You know, I just, this is a complete stay away to me, but if I had to do anything, it would be Saints.
That's a hold your nose game for me. I have no desire to get involved with the Niners, with a backup quarterback. The Saints only getting 3. No. Hard pass for me. All right, let's move on. The Tennessee Titans were frisky, but they lose in Denver. They're back at home this week, grabbing 5.5 against a Ram team that everybody loves, a Ram team that won and found a way to cover against the Houston Texans. And we're going to have some plays here from the fellas on this game. Raheem, this game is a wise wager for you. How are we playing Rams and Titans?
This is absolutely my wisest wager. I like the under 41.5. You look at this Titans offense. Last week, they were absolutely abysmal. I'm talking about historically bad. They had 7 first downs, 2.4 yards per play, 1.8 yards per pass, and 3.4 yards per rush. They were 2 for 14 on third down. I mean, you just don't get any worse than that. Cam Ward was 12 of 28 for 112 yards. And now you got to go up against a Rams team that held the Houston Texans to 9 points and a 36% defensive success rate. So I just don't see how the Titans are going to score many points in this game. And if you look at the Titans, they're missing a tackle in this game. So the offensive line is a little banged up with the rookie quarterback. You look at the Rams, they're banged up on the offensive line as well. And if you look at this Titans team, I think the defense is a little bit underrated. You know, they were 5th in defensive EPA per play last week. And you got to remember, they forced 4 turnovers against Bo Nix. A lot of people say that's Bo Nix, but a lot of that was the Titans defense. And I think, you know, this Rams offense, they haven't been great. I know they have Matthew Stafford, but they only put up 14 points last week. So I think 41.5 is a little bit too high for this game. That is my wisest wager. Let's go under.
Like the sound of that. I forgot a homework assignment. I didn't give out an OMG bet. The Colts kind of fit that description. They're going to be my OMG bet. Why do I bring that up? Because, Joe House, you have an OMG bet for me.
Yeah, this is the stupidest bet of the week for me, but it involves the stupidest team in the league. So I had to go in this direction. I really wanted to make the case for the Titans to win outright. I think they match up very well. This is a terrible spot for the Rams, and Dream just hit on it. We have the Rams leaving the West Coast. This is for them a 9 a.m. Pacific time start in Nashville. They're banged up on the offensive line. The Rams on the road all of last season averaged 19 points, so I'm playing under 24.5 for the Rams team total, and then I'm parlaying that because that's not much of an OMG. That's minus 130. The market agrees that the Rams are going to score under 24.5 points. The Rams have been scoring under 20 points. They're on a streak here going all the way back to last season. So under 24.5 costs you money. Why not just go ahead and parlay that with the Rams winning this game outright plus 3.5 points is the way I'm going to play it. Because even if Tennessee does the thing that I honestly think they're capable of, which is winning, they ain't winning by more than 3 because that coach is by far the dumbest head coach in the entire NFL. And so I just am not betting on dumb Callahan under any circumstances. But the merits and the metrics are on the side of the Titans under 24.5 and the Rams getting 3.5. That's how I'm playing it.
Now, gang, we are all part of the Ringer 107. Myself, Raheem Palmer, we have a third teammate, Ariel Epstein. We go way back. She's outstanding. She is the prop queen for a reason. So I'm sure her debut on the Ringer Sunday pregame, she's not giving us a side. She's not giving us a total. Prop queen, what do we got?
Hey, wise guys. This weekend, there is a number way too low and it's for Arizona's running back, James Conner. We're going over 68.5 rushing yards. It's a number that's already gone up since 63.5 early this week. That's not the only reason, though, that we're going with this. Last year, James Conner went against 4 different teams, bottom 10 against the run. Conner rushed for at least 100 yards in all 4 of those games. Now you're getting the Carolina Panthers, who have allowed the most rushing yards per game to running backs dating back to last year. Travis Etienne just rushed for 143 yards last week against this Panthers D. Enough to even drop a running back in Tank Bigsby because they're so excited about how good Etienne looked in week 1. James Conner is going to look just as good this week. We are going over his 68.5 rushing yards. Please advise, wise guys.
I love it, Prop Queen. Listen, not only do I love James Conner to have a big day, when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers, this was an honorable mention for a wise wager for me. I love Arizona in this spot. Carolina stinks. They couldn't stop the 4 of us. They were pathetic against Jacksonville. And I think you will get a much better and a much more complete offensive performance from the Arizona Cardinals compared to what we saw in week 1, where they survived by the hairs on their chinny chin chin against the New Orleans Saints. This has Cardinals by 2 scores written all over it. Carolina, one of the 3 to 5 worst teams in the league. Raheem, it's a Ringer 107 pick for a reason. I love Arizona.
Yeah, the only reason why this is not a wisest wager for me is because this number moved to 7. And we know 7 comes out around 9% of the time. I don't want to push. So that's the only reason why this isn't a wise wager. You look at the Carolina Panthers last year, 32nd in defensive EPA per play, 32nd in defensive success rate. They're just dead last in pretty much every defensive metric. And then you trade away Adam Thielen. You have Coker get hurt. So other than Tech McMillan, who are you throwing the ball to? So you look at the fact that they can't stop the run. You know, Ariel gave out that play on the running back over. I just think Arizona should be able to get anything they want on offense, and then they should be able to do enough on defense to cover this number.
Sal?
Well, I have Arizona winning the NFC West, so they certainly have to win this game, and it would make my prediction look better if they did it handily. But I'm curious to see what Raheem, what was the look-ahead line on this? It is getting a little rich at 7. Imagine how bad a team has to be for the Arizona Cardinals to lay 7. Was it 6?
What was it, Raheem?
No, it was
like
actually
5.5?
4.5.
4.5, okay.
Wow. Holy God.
Yeah, and I think at some point it's just like this is a market. I have to recognize that and,
right.
Try not to bet it when it's not no value. So
Fair enough. House, come on, make it a family play. I know you want to take the Cardinals.
Oh, I loved it. I gave out Cardinals at the beginning of the week at 6.5 as one of my favorite bets. It's super square. I mean, let there be no doubt. But I can't come up with a script. One of the things I love, in addition to the James Conner prop that the prop queen herself gave out, get something down on Trey Benson. Trey Benson, they're trying to preserve James Conner this season. I think he gets to the 70 yards, maybe in the first half. James Conner. Trey Benson was explosive last week, and he was the guy that really got them moving against the Saints. I like Trey Benson over 34.5 rushing yards as a prop for this week.
A lot of unity. Sometimes it is hip to be square. Boys, hit the anytime last week. I want 4 anytimes. Let's get in the kitchen. I'm hungry. Been in the studio for way too long. And let's cook up the Wise Guys family meal. I love that the family meal has now turned into anytime touchdowns. We keep it simple. House, lead us off.
Yeah, why not a delicious Philadelphia hoagie from your choice, Delisandro's, baby?
Delisandro's, way to go. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
AJ Brown plus 200 to catch a touchdown. He was dead absent week 1 against Dallas. They didn't need him. The Eagles just ran the ball down Dallas's throat, and that was perfectly fine. But we have seen this script before. It wasn't that long ago. It was just February. This Eagles team throwing the ball all over the Chiefs' moribund secondary. I see more of the same. AJ Brown plus 200 for an anytime touchdown.
Sal, you're rocking with a guy I had featured in my SGP, and I like what you're doing here with Brian Thomas.
Yes, this dish is Thomas's English Muffins. I'm keeping it just straight. It's store-bought here. Brian Thomas, that's it. Not going to overthink it. Disappointing week 1, sure, but now he's got this Bengals defense. He's a great player. He had 10 touchdowns last year. He scored in 3 of his last 4. That Bengals defense, they run the one high safety. This is a winnable matchup for Brian Thomas. You could even get 2+ touchdowns at plus 950, but for the family meal purposes, get in all those nooks and crannies. Brian Thomas to score a touchdown. Have we ever gone 4 for 4? Let's do it, guys. We've done this for like 14 years. Let's get it together.
Raheem, I love that you were pulling a page out of my playbook from week 1. Who is our anytime touchdown scorer in week 2?
Yeah, we're going to go with some New York style pizza. We're going to go with Justin Fields anytime touchdown plus 154. If you look at what he did last week, he had 9 design rushing attempts and he had 12 carries in the season opener. And inside of the red zone, he didn't throw a single pass, but he ran it 4 times and had 2 touchdowns. So I think this is a good spot against the Buffalo Bills team. We saw what Lamar Jackson did. We saw what Derrick Henry did. I think he can replicate that and get into the end zone. Let's go with Justin Fields, plus 154, anytime touchdown.
All right, I'm sticking with a New York player. Malik Neighbors, who was frustrated about his role in the Giant offense in week 1 against the Commies. I think he's going to be heavily involved in the game plan here against the Dallas Cowboys. No bland, moon ball, maybe it's a short pass, whatever it is. Malik Neighbors is going to find pay dirt. A little under plus 150. Let's take a look at the family meal as far as our anytime touchdowns are concerned. Sal's rolling with Brian Thomas. House rolling with A.J. Brown. Raheem, Justin Fields. And I got Malik Neighbors. Plus 4,361. I like the sound of that. Cousin Sal, it's always a pleasure. Hopefully the Simmons parlay of pain comes home to roost. And you can have a little fun on the podcast later on this evening, okay?
Let's do it. Let's go. Go Dolphins. Go Cowboys. Mets suck. Let's bring it all home, fellas.
Thank you, Cousin Sal. We say goodbye to Cousin Sal, and now we welcome in a guy who mushed the Baltimore Ravens last week, but I still love him. He's about to celebrate a Philly division title. We'll see if his Colts are going to get to 2-0. Anthony Dabbundo, welcome back. You're back in my good graces. How are you, sir?
I'm fairly confident I'm the only person on this show to have already lost a bet today.
Soccer bet?
Nothing, Manchester United.
You sick man. You sick man. Before we get to your wise wagers, I want you to take a look, AD, at the 4 that the fellas are bringing to the table. Sal taking the San Francisco 49ers laying 3 against the New Orleans Saints. Joe House got the Chargers at a field goal Monday night against the Vegas Raiders. Raheem giving us a total with the Rams and the Titans under 41.5. And I'm rolling with the Houston Texans on Monday night in the opener, laying 2.5 against the Bucks. Out of those 4, AD, what stands out?
I personally did bet Rams Titans under. Otherwise, it doesn't feel ugly enough. Feels like we got to get uglier with our best bets here. I don't know.
Okay, well, you'll have the opportunity to do so. You want to get ugly? Let's get ugly. What's wise wager number 1?
Actually, I was planning to use the Jets, but as I look at my screen here, they keep getting bet 5.5. My best wager,
5.5 in the market. My goodness,
yeah, there's 5 showing up. A lot of Jet love today. We'll see. My wise wager, though, going back to the well after last week's Houston under, Tampa Bay, Houston under 42.5 on Monday night, minus 102. I think this is a nightmare matchup for both teams because both have, I think right now, offensive line issues that aren't going to be fixed. I mean, the Houston personnel problems, the Tampa Bay personnel issues without Tristan Wirfs, they really struggled to block an Atlanta line last week that has not been particularly good for multiple seasons. So I look at this and I see all the recipe for under. Both teams had terrible success rates on early downs last week. It was a lot of Tampa Bay bailing out third downs late, getting some explosives late in that fourth quarter to get back into the game to win it. But I don't like either of these offenses right now. And I sneaky love, this Houston secondary's ability to take away tight ends, to take away deep balls. They're elite in covering the middle of the field and covering the deep ball. I think that's where Tampa likes to operate. So I like the under 42.5 Monday Night Football, game 1 of 2.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. And to be honest, Dabbundo, I feel like that under for Tampa and Houston plays to my script in what I see with the game with the Houston Texans. Like, I think if Tampa Bay is going to win this game, their offense with Baker, with Evans, with Ibuka is up to their usual tricks. Can you correlate Houston and your underplay?
I never love laying the points in a game where I think it's going to be super low scoring, but I have more concerns I guess, about the Tampa Bay offense in this matchup. I don't love either group. I think for like a year and a half now, I've been kind of banging the drum against this Houston offense. And I thought maybe it'd be a little different with the new coordinator, but I feel like the offensive line injuries just kind of sink them. So, Bowles, we know how aggressive he likes to be. That could be a really interesting matchup tomorrow night against Stroud, who takes a ton of sacks.
Okay, we go from an ugly under to a gross underdog as your wise wager number 2.
My OMG bet. I can't believe I'm betting the Titans, the worst spread team in NFL history last year. I think I only bet them once or twice, so I feel like I have some more money to burn on the stockpile of Tennessee Titans lore. I really loved what I saw from their defense in the game against Denver. I think, going into that game, knowing you're not going to have a ton of an offense, just how little Tennessee had the ball, it would have been very easy for their defense to kind of cave in and maybe give up some big plays late and have Denver break away and run away with that game. They never did. And I think that says something about Tennessee, their defensive strength. Being healthy in the secondary will certainly matter here. And if you go to the Rams offense from week 1, they did basically nothing on early downs. They weren't able to successfully run the ball. Stafford played a ton of third down hero ball and got them out of a lot of tough situations. I thought he played his ass off in that game. And they got to 14. And that was at home, right? And so I feel like on the road here, it's a tough spot for them. I like Titans plus 5.5. Shop around. You might be able to find a 6. There are a couple stray 6s out there, but I like the Titans, and it correlates with Raheem's under too, which I also bet earlier in the week.
House, I thought about the Titans this week because I think it's a good spot for them. The Rams win a whole lot of close games. The problem I kept coming back to is that coaching staff. And that's why I didn't make the bet, because I hate the Titan coaching staff. I love Sean McVay.
That's right.
And McVay, historically speaking, has been good going to the East Coast.
Yeah, I'd really tried to get myself there with the Titans on the money line. I do think they're live. I do think that defense is legit, but that dude is so stupid. The inability to challenge because either he himself or his staff around him don't understand that an elbow inbounds leads to a successful catch. The way that they called plays at the end of the first half, throwing the ball from their own end zone, basically 3 consecutive pass plays that gave Denver plenty of time to come down and score in a very short game scoring wise. It's an abomination. And I just can't countenance the idea of going against Sean McVay with this dunce who should be wearing a dunce cap on the sidelines. It looks like Dabbundo's cheese head. But I think on the merits that the Titans are live. I like them at home. I just won't bet on that moron until we get some semblance of an indication that they can figure out correct game management.
Hey, they're 1-0 against the spread this year, House. Depending on which number you got.
I bet them on the spread. I got the 5.5. And I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I already bet the Titans plus the 5.5.
I think it's the right side of the game. Listen, AD, I got no problem with the pick. I'm just a little fearful of that coaching staff.
Fair.
So that's why it constitutes an OMG. Now, your man's best bet.
Yes.
Guess what, buddy boy? I'm on board. It's my OMG. I have a feeling it could end up being the worst bet I make in 2025, other than losing the steak dinner to you, of course.
Right.
But make the case. Make the case, sir. Why do we like the Colts outright against Denver?
Look, I understand the argument of week 1 overreaction, right? Look ahead was 3.5. Reopens 2.5. Everybody's like, well, went through the key number. Overreaction. Bo Nix looked bad. Daniel Jones looked good. Throw everything out we said in week 1. Look, I came into the season much more skeptical of Denver than you guys, and a lot of it was because of this offense. Yes, their defense is good, but their defense also feasted on a lot of backup quarterbacks last year. Maybe Daniel Jones is a backup quarterback. I don't know. He didn't look like that last week to me. But this comes down to, yes, Denver's defense is the best unit on the field, but Denver's offense is the worst of the 4 main units on the field. And I'm actually very skittish about them. And I know the Colts have a couple injuries, and especially Charvarius Ward not being able to play does matter because they have very little secondary depth at the corner position. They've got a bunch of injuries. Jones is out. They've had all guys dropping like flies in camp. It's been ugly. But this Denver offense last year against the Colts, against a Gus Bradley defense, the most simple defense to go up against last season, in theory, should have been a pretty good matchup for Bo Nix and this offense. Good O-line, quick passing game. That's the kind of stuff that torched the Colts all year. They could not get a first down for most of the game until the Colts, again, dropped the ball running into the end zone. Threw a pick six with the receiver. Gave up a 70-yard punt return that set up a free touchdown. They completely imploded the game. And I cannot get that game out of my head in thinking about just how successfully the Colts personnel matched up front on the defensive line. They neutralized the Broncos O-line. They were able to limit explosiveness because the weakness of the Colts is the secondary defensively, but Denver doesn't have the skill group to take advantage. So I feel like I'm going to take the Colts as a home dog here. Maybe we're all wrong, and maybe it was a mirage last week, and they just beat up on a bad secondary. It's possible. But to me, I mean, I don't think it's an overreaction because I wasn't that high on Denver to begin with. So give me the Colts on the money line as my man's best bet underdog of the week.
At least I'm not on an island by myself with Indianapolis. There's that. All right, boys, we got
all one-way action. I mean, it's down to one. It's crazy.
Crazy indeed. Let's take a look here at some poll results that we've had here on our YouTube throughout. We're going to have we'll do that later. Here's the Ringer 107 for this week. Let's see, Dabbundo, if there's any agreement here. I like the Jets. Arizona. A lot of Arizona house. That's what I'm seeing on this week 2 board. A lot of Arizona.
I couldn't get there. I mean, it's square. I like it, but
you did get there. You guys took them as a money line.
Yeah, that's right.
Raheem,
Yeah,
I'm noticing something.
What's up?
There only seems to be one team that's throwing in parlays in the first 2 weeks of this competition.
Arizona?
It was the only thing we got right last week.
I see how to go back to it. And then we see Ringer 107. They go Dallas. They go Houston. Wow, Buffalo. I do not like that Buffalo play at all.
The market doesn't either.
Ringer Fantasy. Dabbundo, you ever read on Philly KC?
I bet under. Don't like the matchup for the Kansas City offense at all. Without Worthy, I feel like the Eagles take away the middle and the underneath stuff as well as any defense in the league, especially with Bond, Campbell, DeJean. If there's a weakness for Philly's defense, it's maybe the edge rushers, but definitely the outside corner, opposite of Mitchell. And like, who's the guy that's taking advantage of that? I don't know. And I think I share some of the concerns that I think it was Raheem earlier mentioned about the new offensive coordinator in Philly. It was a little janky last week. I think there could be some growing pains. And I think Philly is the kind of team, they're going to do some experimentation. They're going to try different things because they know they don't need to peak in week 4, week 5, week 6. They're trying to peak toward the end of the season like they did last year. So I think we could see some experimentation, different things with this offense. And Goddard is an underrated loss. They don't have any, like their third receiving option when Goddard is out is kind of just anybody's guess, really. So I think that Goddard's an underrated loss for this offense.
We got a couple of poll questions. The people are not siding with us on Arizona. That's incredibly disappointing. 53% of you would not take the Arizona Cardinals laying the 7. 46%.
I mean, I wouldn't take a lay in the 7 either.
Yeah, I wouldn't lay 7.
We have 6.5, but guess what? They're winning by 2 scores. 6.5, 7 is not going to matter.
Did you pick him in Survivor? Because I did.
I did.
I did.
Uh-oh.
I did.
Here's the thing. There's certain Survivor pools where Christmas and Thanksgiving counts as his own.
That's why you had to save the Ravens.
So
that's what I was thinking.
Like, it's certain teams like the Ravens, the Chiefs, even the Cowboys, you have to save the Cowboys.
Who does Dallas have on Thanksgiving this
year? They're playing Kansas City on Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm going to want to use that.
I mean, you still got to save them just because I think they're playing on Thanksgiving and Christmas, I think. But
that's right. They're playing the commies. They're playing house.
You still have to save them just because you just don't know how things are going to play out.
Right. Yeah. I played Arizona this week. Second straight week, I'm against Carolina in Survivor. Second straight week, the market continues to steam against Carolina, which I always think is interesting to take note of. Early in the season, who does the market like and not like? And sometimes they're right. Sometimes
this week, who are they steaming? Who are they steaming with? Who are they steaming against? Dabbundo.
Right, steaming against Carolina both weeks.
But who are they steaming with this week?
Arizona was a big one. The Jets are a big move this week.
The Colts. Colts. That's been back and forth. Like it's been a lot. That's the funny thing. Actually, Minnesota and the Falcons went to 3. And the Falcons took money last week as well. So a lot of times, you'll just have certain teams to where people are just buying, like sharps are just buying on them.
Yeah, the thing with me with Minnesota Falcons, Penix has played 4 NFL defenses in his career. 3 of them were Washington, the Giants, and the Panthers last year. And this defense in Minnesota is by far the best, especially just like
you on the same page that I'm on, that I was trying to tell people earlier.
Right, but
no Van Ginkel though.
No Van Ginkel and no Cashman.
Yeah,
those guys really matter too.
They really matter.
That's a lot of how Flores likes to cook.
Van Ginkel runs all over the field and gets sacks. They're gonna miss him today.
Cashman's the green dot. So yeah, I'm a little worried about the
Steelers moved to 3.5. Sorry to cut you off there, Dabbundo.
Yeah,
I'm just going through some weight. Steelers went. Are you out on McDonald? Are you worried about Seattle? Not McDonald. I know you love him, but Seattle. Are you a little worried after what you saw in week 1?
I'm certainly mad at him. I actually think that I upgraded both defenses off that Seattle game, and I'm going to look for some second half under in the Seattle-Pittsburgh game. I love how McDonald adjusts defensively throughout the course of a game. I think it's one of his best skill sets. And if Seattle gets super passive, which we saw last week, if they turtle, it'll be harder for Pittsburgh to do their thing where they generate like the 2 big turnovers in the fourth quarter to like swing the game if Seattle's going to be super cautious. So I think this is like a prime second half under or just under general look. That's where I'm waiting. I bet it last week and it got there, and I'm probably going to bet it again this week.
AD, why the Chiefs head today?
Well, my Packers are 2-0.
They are your Packers.
Your Packers.
Oh, you have adopted them. Okay.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, we were on them before the trade. I mean, I think this whole podcast was on them. We were all on them.
We were.
And they won and covered on Thursday with a dominating performance. And I haven't put this on yet, so I had to put it on. It was sitting next to me.
No Aaron Nola jersey, though. I didn't get that.
Aaron Nola jersey's actually at my apartment, which I'm not at right now. I was going to wear it just to mess with Sal because he's taking it rough right now.
He sure is. His Mets can't win a game. They can't win today. My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. The good news for them is the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds are the competition for the 3rd wild card. That's the only thing the Mets have going for them. Other than
Don't count out the Diamondbacks, JJ. Only 2 games out.
You can't quit those D-backs, AD.
They only 2 games out, and they have tiebreakers. We are not dead.
It is going to be a gross. That is going to be a gross finish for that final wild card spot. That's going to do it for week 2. Ringer Sunday pregame with the Wise Guys. For Anthony Dabbundo, Raheem Palmer, Joe House, Cousin Sal, John Jastremski signing off. Thanks to all the guys in California and here in New York. We'll be back next week, hopefully with a whole lot of winners coming your way. Be good, everybody.